Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown, the unofficial sumo podcast for official sumo fans. This is Jake.
This is Flerick.
This is Ryan.
This is Mac.
Almost got you there, Flerick. You caught you sleeping.
We still can't get this right.
Hey, speak for yourself. We said everything in the right order.
I was going to say, if we had not brought any attention to it, I think we could have gotten away with it.
No, I must call it.
We just had to talk about it a little bit ahead of time, and that, threw us off our groove 1%.
All right. So today we're here to talk about all of the news that has gone on from the end of the basho till now. We're about 3 weeks out from the start of the basho, so a little over halfway between the break from the Haru basho to the Natsu basho. So now's as good of time as any to kind of wrap up all the news that has happened. Long story short, not a terribly exciting break between bashos. Luckily, no scandals dropping, no crazy promotions or retirements. So probably not the best thing to do at the top of the episode, to tell people not going to be a whole lot of interesting stuff going on here.
Thanks for tuning in. This one sucks.
Nobody would blame you. Nobody would blame you.
No, the obvious headline here is the saddest one. But we'll get there if you haven't heard about that one. There's one particularly bad, not super in the ring type of sumo news, but
and
other than that, not a ton.
We'll start with that because there was an active rikishi that passed away on April 14th at the age of 33 due to necrotizing fasciitis. So just a terrible way to go. So that rikishi was down in Jonidan, a career lower ranked rikishi, Waka Zakura. Passed away. He was a member of the Shikihide stable since he debuted back in March of 2007 at the age of 15. So he'd been in sumo for 18 years. He reached a career high rank of Jonidan 3 in September of 2019, fought in 735 career bouts, and he only ever missed one basho worth of action in his career. He just sat out of one basho due to injury, never pulled out of any other match. He even fought in all of his matches just as recently as this past basho. So after the basho, he returned to his stable and continued trading all the way up till April 10th. He went to the hospital on April 11th, complaining of pain similar to hemorrhoids, and underwent emergency surgery once they found out what was going on there. With this necrotizing fasciitis, I believe it really hampers your immune system. And so there was a stretch of, if he could get through 3 days post-surgery, sounds like he would have been able to pull through. But unfortunately, he passed 2 or 3 days afterwards. According to a person related to the stable, he was a senior disciple, but he was humble and well-liked. So very sad passing of a lower division rikishi here, and unfortunately becomes the third active rikishi to pass away this decade. Prior to this, it had been decades since an active rikishi had passed away. And I think when I was scrolling through sumo forums, there's 5 maybe in recent history, active rikishi that have passed away. And we've had 3 happen in the past 5 years. There was Shobushi, who passed away due to COVID complications in 2020, and Hibikiryu, who died due to complications following an injury on the doyo in 2021. So just really, really sad news here. Obviously, nobody that we would have been tracking, nobody that we heard about, but he was still in the sumo family. And so just obviously a tragic loss for all of Grand Sumo, but especially those at the Shikihide stable.
Yeah, one of those... sorry, you go ahead first, Matt.
No, it's just if you were watching the video feed and you saw my face drop, it's because I had to look up what necrotizing fasciitis actually was and what it did. And no.
Yeah.
Bad.
One of those things that you don't even necessarily know is happening or where you could have gotten it from, and then all of it. Yeah, it's incredibly serious, even with modern medicine. But yeah, my big takeaway here was there's so many people in sumo, and there's so many people like this guy who aren't outrageously successful, but he was doing it for the lifetime of an adult. He's doing this for 18 years, and clearly loved the sport an incredible amount to stay even in like the lower two divisions his entire career. It reminds me of uh God, I had his name in my head 30 seconds ago. The guy that never won but stayed in it forever.
I actually just
Hattori
looked him
Zakura.
up. Hattori Zakura.
Thank you.
Finished his career as Shonan Zakura, but both were in the Shikihide stable.
Oh, that was the same stable.
Oh.
Okay, I didn't know that.
This stable is kind of known for taking in everybody, and
That's
not
right.
really caring too much. Are you making it up to the Sekitori ranks? It's just kind of give me everybody that wants to be in sumo. I'll take them.
Yeah. And that makes sense. Like this, like I said, this guy clearly loved the sport, stayed in it for 18 years. But yeah, another one of the unfortunate realities is when you have guys that are this big, that doesn't help your health for sure. But yeah, not something anybody, like I said, it's not something that you can like necessarily be 100% certain you can avoid or recover from.
Mhm.
Super sucks.
So, very unfortunate news, probably the biggest news of this break. But we will move on and talk about some other news. So, as I mentioned, we don't have any new promotions. There's no new Ozeki. There's no new Yokozuna this basho. But we do have comments from our Yokozuna Deliberation Council, as we do have an Ozeki that won the Yusho, and presuming he wins the next Yusho, would be promoted up to Yokozuna, that being Onosato. So what the YDC had to say about Onosato after the Haru Basho, he has more than fulfilled his responsibilities as an Ozeki. We can have high hopes for his future. We all agreed that hope has been born. And then when pressed about if they're like expecting him to make the jump to Yokozuna sometime soon, they just referred back to their statements like, yeah, we said hope has been born. So it's clearly something they're expecting from Onosato. I think everybody is expecting Onosato to make that leap, if not in Natsu, sometime in the near future.
I love how they use "hope is born." I'm sure that's just interesting translation.
Yeah,
of
Google
maybe a
Translate
common
thing.
phrase, but
Yeah.
Such a
That's just-
sumo phrase, though.
Right?
such a poetic way to say that. Hope is born.
A new hope, if you will.
But of course, our Yokozuna Deliberation Council had to make some comments about our one active Yokozuna at this time, Hoshoryu, who had pulled out of the basho due to that loose cartilage in his elbow. He was unable to tighten that up in time for the basho. So about Hoshoryu, they said it is very unfortunate, but it is unavoidable due to injury. It must have been difficult for him. I hope that he will prepare his mind, technique, and body in the hope of making a comeback and achieving great results as a Yokozuna in the next tournament. So they're not dragging him through the mud. He's been Yokozuna for one basho and he was hurt. I mean, you can't.
Makes sense.
Put out the boilerplate statement. We'll deal with it in 2 months.
Yep. They did get some questions regarding some criticism that they may have had about potentially promoting Hoshoryu too quickly. And so regarding that criticism, they said, when we submitted the approved report, there were some criticisms that it was inappropriate to make a decision in such a short time. We made our decision fairly, impartially, and objectively. We are not in a position to make decisions, but rather to make a report. We came here after having exchanged fairly frank opinions beforehand. So they're saying, hey, we talked about it. There were differing opinions, but in the end, we agreed that he should be Yokozuna, and it's not up to us to do the promotion. We send a report to recommend him, but we're not the ones that promote.
Wow, they dodging the responsibility on that one.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Hey man, we just did the paperwork. I don't know.
Yeah.
That statement alone can clear up the confusion about what the Yokozuna Deliberation Council is, because there's a lot of people. I mean, it's confusing. I'm sure when we first started watching sumo, we had the same assumptions. Like, these are the guys that decide if you're promoted or not, and they're just an advisory body to say, hey, we would recommend his promotion. It's still up to the JSA to say, yes, you are being promoted. It's up to the Shimpan department to make that final decision.
It's kind of like a very official group of fans, give or take.
Basically,
Where it's
yes.
supposed to give a voice to the fans, because I think it was like back in the 50s, like apparently the newspapers and everyone was just kind of like mumbling, and like everyone was kind of just different voices, opinion being thrown everywhere. And he decided, like, we're just going to have this group of people be the voice of the fans. And then they can kind of say, like, I don't know if he has enough in Kaku. I don't know if he's ready.
You might say
know?
they are an unofficial sumo committee of official sumo fans.
Ooh.
I think they're pretty
hot take.
official. Official
Yeah, I was going to
sumo
say, I'm
committee.
pretty sure they're an official sumo committee.
I don't know, man. It sounds like they're on our level, so sounds like equivalent to what we are. So
They
I don't know,
they
man.
might be official, but I think they have the same amount of prestige as YDC West does. I think both of our opinions are held in the same regard. Like we have constant communication with Hakaku. He's asking us after every basho, like, "Hey, what do you think about Hoshoryu?" Obviously, we gave the unanimous report of promote Hoshoryu, and we'll probably do the same if Onosato wins in
they
Natsu.
listened.
Hakaku might be calling us before he calls YDC West. I mean, we're younger, we're more with it. There's less of us, so we can get a report out quicker. We might be that first call.
We are definitely, we have the voice of the fans at heart.
That's
which arguably,
Dozens.
apparently, apparently YDC East, like apparently questionably, they don't, is kind of what's hearing. They're kind of saying like, hey, we made this decision, but they're getting so much backlash. Yeah.
We're
Maybe we
not
should
backtracking
replace
from
them.
our support of Hoshoryu. It's like, we made that happen. That was us.
Yeah, you know what? What would be YDC West's statement here? Instead of like, oh, we did paperwork, it'd be like, no, he earned it.
Yeah, he earned it.
Yeah.
He got the Yusho equivalent, and a Yusho, his cartilage was loose. What do you want him to do? Like, there's nothing you can do in that situation, obviously. So he's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
He's fine.
Mic drop.
Oh dear God, I hope so. He's fine.
But that's all we got out of the YDC. Nothing too spicy this time, unfortunately. So let's move on to some lower division promotions. We have 4 Rikishi that are going to be moving up from Makushita to the bottom of Juryo, 3 of which are going to be going up to Juryo for the first time in their careers. We have Miyagi, who is 26 years old, going up to Juryo for the first time in his career. We have Mita, who is 23 years old, not to be confused with probably fellow Juryo Rikishi Mitake Yumi. Mita is
It's going to be
stable
confusing because that's
Ouch.
the nickname I've used for him for like nearly a decade.
Yeah, kind of sucks. Mita is the stablemate of Roga and Nabatame in the Futagoyama Beya. And if you're a big fan of their sumo channel on YouTube, so he's another. I think he's another guy that's kind of might be a little bit popular due to that YouTube channel that Heya has. So that's pretty cool for fans of that channel to watch. Never watched a second of it, unfortunately. So I can't say that I know anything about it, but I know just like Nabatame had a lot of fans as he was coming up. I'm sure Mita does as well.
Spoken like an unofficial sumo fan.
Listen, I don't see very many other people who've been pumping out 8 years worth of sumo coverage. So you can maybe they're unofficial fans.
There you go. Retreating to the start your own podcast retort. Oh, I gotcha.
No,
Okay.
don't. We don't need any more competition.
No.
Just listen to us.
No, don't.
And I'm sorry, we breezed right through Miyagi without a single Karate Kid joke. I think we
it
should
was too easy. It
we
was
should
too
be proud of
easy.
ourselves.
No.
we resisted.
I've never seen Karate Kid, so I don't know people's names.
Honestly,
You
Sam,
know, Mr. Miyagi.
Now that you say it, like I can make that connection, but it never once crossed my mind as I was putting this together.
Really?
yeah. So
Like I said, never seen it. I know wax on, wax off. I know crane kick defeats bullies 100% of the time, but that's about it.
So Ryan and I are not better people for not taking the easy thing. We just did not know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mac, you and I should be proud of ourselves.
Right. I was going to say that too easy.
No,
And
Too easy.
especially
You
proud of
shouldn't,
ourselves for
Jake,
calling it
because-
out later.
Yeah. I'm going to say, you should not be proud of yourself because now we spent a minute talking about it.
And that's justly deserved.
Also, I'm going to clip that part where Ryan says wax off and just like insert that into all sorts of things while I edit.
No, you're not. You don't make effort while editing.
See, if there was one named Pai
That's a pretty
Mei,
good
I
one,
think
though.
Ryan would know it.
Yeah. Kill Bill.
Very good.
particularly Volume 1. The 5-finger exploding palm, exploding heart. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. Mudoho, 23
could you quit
years
wasting
old.
time here, Ryan?
Out of the I'm trying. Out of the Otake Bea is also being promoted to the top division, and Mudoho is also a grandson of Taiho and the brother of current Sekiwake, soon to be Upper Maegashira Oho. So
Ooh.
Oho's got one of his brothers joining him. They also have a third brother named Naya. I believe he's Naya.
Another
Another
yeah,
Naya.
it's a
Naya
family name, I
used to
believe.
be Oho's Shikona before he got to
Right.
Yeah, it's the real
Juryo.
last name.
Let me do quick searching here on Naya.
Yep, there he is. He's down in Sandanme.
Yeah. And I believe he is the eldest brother of these three, so it's very much like the Waka Bros situation, where we have Wakataka Kage and Wakamoto Haru in the top division, but the eldest brother, Wakataka Moto, is stuck in Makushita, and Naya is the oldest. Even though he joined Sumo after Oho did, but he is the eldest brother, and so those two are Sekitori, and he is, as Jake said, Sandanme 16. Not sure if a 4-3 from Sandanme 16 would get him up to Makushita. It looks like he had a 4-3 at Sandanme 17 2 basho ago that got him towards the top of Sandanme, so probably not. Probably still in Sandanme for Naya.
What you got, Flick?
I was gonna make a joke how the eldest son spent all the childhood just beating up the younger sons in sumo, but then
That's how they gain their strength.
That's how they gained their strength, because the older kid was beating them up the entire time.
Yep.
So once they got the same age, they just started beating up the older brother.
Years and years ago, I read somebody's insanely rambling too long hot take about how John Jones became such a great MMA fighter because he was a middle brother. Like, if you're the middle brother, you have a big brother that beats up on you and a younger brother that you beat up on as you get older. And like, I'm just reminded of the half hour that I'll never get back from my entire life there about that just raving madman.
So yeah, it looks like Naya, who previously went by the Shikona Hozan, he is the eldest at 27, then Oho at 25, and Mudoho at 23 years old. So we've got another triumvirate of brothers with two in the Sekitori ranks to pay attention to.
Cool.
And also returning to Juryo is 32-year-old Dayamami. So this is the first time that he's dipped back down to Makushita after his promotion up to Juryo the first time. So he made that a short trip, just one basho. Dayamami made it back to the Sekitori ranks. So that leaves us with 4 Rikishi. We can only suspect who's getting demoted from Juryo down to Makushita, but we have a pretty good idea. Kita no Waka was in Juryo and sat out the entire basho, so he's going to drop down to Makushita. Hokuto Fuji was... Where is he? He was Juryo 8 and only got 3 wins. Hokuto Fuji very likely dropping down to Makushita. And then we also have Kiryuko, who was Juryo 12, who got 2 wins, and Otsuji, Juryo 14, who had 5 wins. So those are our 4 Rikishi likely dropping out of the salaried ranks. So Kiryuko would be heading back down to Makushita for the second time after making it to Juryo, and Otsuji heading back down to Makushita after just 1 basho in Juryo. Hokuto Fuji and Kita no Waka, these would be their first trips back down to Makushita. I believe that's true for Kita no Waka. Let's see.
Man, Hokuto Fuji, we're talking all the way back in 2016.
And he only had, 1 or 2 basho in Makushita? I know he came all the way from the bottom, but...
Yeah, 4
he
total.
roared up. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, within a year of debuting, he was at the top of Makushita. Within 2 years, he was Maegashira 7.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
Yeah. That was a quick rise, but he was a university guy, so he started a little older. But yeah, he's 32, so it's not completely shocking that he's kind of declining. I don't know. We'll miss him though. He was making his top division debut right around the time that we started watching sumo.
Yep. He was my first favorite Rikishi. All right. And then we are your top Gyoji covering podcast, and we have 2 new Gyoji that are joining the ranks. So Shikimori Tomosaburo was hired as a Gyoji after starting as a trainee back in August of last year. So something I learned about the Gyoji process, you kind of start as a trainee, and then after that period, you have to be hired onto the stable as an actual Gyoji. So Shikimori Tomosaburo was able to did good enough during his training that he was hired on. So he has joined the Otowayama Beya, and it's kind of an interesting story for him. He's joining Otowayama Beya alongside another member of his high school sumo club who is also joining that same Heya. And these were the only two members of their high school sumo club.
Oh, sounds very Hinomaru Sumo-esque.
Yeah.
One quick note on Gyoji. They have we very, very frequently refer to them by their full name, which is a shikona, like it is a stage name effectively. But there's basically like only two names. So we have to include their given stage name as well as their stage surname. That'd be the way to phrase it.
Sure.
Because you're either Shikimori or Kimura, I believe, are the only two Gyoji names. So they have to be distinguished by a given name as well.
Yep. And then we have Tatsunami Beya has hired a Gyoji trainee at the beginning of April. So he doesn't have his official Gyoji name yet, still a trainee. So he's just known as Seiya for right now. So assuming Seiya is eventually hired on at the Tatsunami Beya, this will max out the Gyoji capacity. Something else that I learned. Apparently, only 45 slots available for Gyoji in Sumo. So no new Gyoji would be able to be hired until the next retirement, which would be our current Kimura Shonosuke, our top Tate Gyoji, who turned 65 in October of 2026. So we're going to about have a year and a half hiring freeze on Gyoji, it would seem like, unless any shock retirements or scandals forcing somebody out, which unfortunately Gyoji are not immune from.
True. There's the pinching one from a few years ago.
A few months ago.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Were there two? Was there another Gyoji that retired like a couple years ago for similar
The
things?
Tate Gyoji for
Maybe that's
inappropriate touching a younger Gyoji, I believe, and then there's this guy who's just pinching.
The pinching one was the more recent one, though. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, I love how you phrase that properly, because that's the way that the JSA would phrase it. Like, there's only 45 slots for Gyoji, so I guess we just can't get any more. But why? Just do another one if you need one. Just do that. Like, it's your own rule.
Hey, there's only 100 or so slots for Kabu.
Yeah,
exactly. Any more Kabu?
Like, I think it's kind of funny how like from the Western perspective, we're like, if you want another one, just do it. It's your call. I do understand the opposing point where it's like, we've limited it because this is how big we want our family, our community to be, and like this is why we do it this way, and it's always done it, blah blah blah. But like, yeah, sometimes it's just kind of like, you made the rule. You can change it if you want to.
You made these rules, man.
And I'm sure it has something to do with like how many matches, like especially down in the lower divisions when there's so many more matches, but just like how long you're on the dohyo, how many matches you're doing. Like if you have too many people and it's just like, all right, one Gyoji does one match, all right, let's get the next one in and get the next one in. So I'm sure it's all around that. But yeah, it probably was just like, well, it was 45, 60 years ago. Why do we need to change it?
Yeah, it's not written in stone, man. Well, actually, it might be. Yeah, that's a good point. Anything sumo related might literally be written in stone.
Did we miss the Gyoji stone when we were too busy looking
we
at
must
the
have.
Yokozuna
We found the
stones?
Yokozuna and the Ozeki stone. So there's got to be a Gyoji stone out there somewhere.
Yeah, it's much more modest. It's just like a paver.
Yeah.
With the numbers 45 just on it.
Yes, there are 45 pavers and no more.
Nope.
Because that's how big that sidewalk is or something.
All right, let's move on to retirements. And as I said, no big retirements. Surprisingly, Hokuto Fuji has not announced a retirement. I know that was widely expected of him, as he will be highly expected of him because we believe he's dropping down to Makushita. That is not official yet, but pretty much official. But it seems like Hokuto Fuji plans on fighting it out down in the lower divisions, maybe to try to get back. Maybe I don't know what his Kabu situation is, if he has one lined up for after retirement, even if he even wants to join the JSA. So maybe it's a situation, I'm going to hang on so I can secure a Kabu before I retire, something like that. But for now, Hokuto Fuji has not retired.
I don't see him on the list, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were 7 Rikishi in the lower divisions that did retire, so just want to shout them out real quick. So Taiga out of the Arashiobeya, Saidiji out of Ikazuchi, Shin Hakuho out of Isegahama, a very interesting.
That's an ambitious name.
Shikona.
I was about to say,
that's
Shin
the right word.
Hakuho?
New
Yeah, New
Hakuho.
Wow.
Clearly that
Bold.
didn't pan out.
Yeah, and we thought it was bold to name him Haku Oho. You know, like
Yeah.
I guess they can both be bold, but like, dang.
At least Haku Oho's kind of panning out a little bit more than
Right.
Shin Hakuho did. But this is important to note that this is the 8th former Miyagi-no-Beya Rikishi to retire since Miyagi-no-Beya merged with Isegahama last year. So they've about halved the number that were within the Miyagi-no-Beya since that merger last year after the fallout from Hokuseiho. In addition, Kawabuchi from Shigoroyama, Goshimaru from Musashigawa, Chiyo Hokai from Kokonoe, and Tapa from Otake have also all retired. So good luck to all of them in their future endeavors. Moving on, we don't have any retirement ceremonies that took place as all of our Rikishi are out on a Jungyo tour, so there's not going to be any haircutting ceremonies that take place during this time, except for no big ceremonies in the Kokugi-kan, obviously smaller ones happening for all of these Rikishi that retired.
Do you know off the top of your head which months that would be the case that they funnel them to? They just happen infrequently enough that I'm not super familiar.
I think there's 2 basho that they get a break between. So there's the one in February, and then I don't know when the other one is.
Yeah, August would be the other. If they were evenly spaced, it would be August. But yeah. So you're saying in the off seasons, there's 4 Jungyo tours and 2
I believe
off seasons,
so.
I guess.
I believe
that.
that is accurate. Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
In wedding news, unfortunately, Kagayaki has announced that he will be getting married on June 14th.
Explain.
Unfortunately,
What? Whoa.
So apparently he was able to find a woman that found him attractive enough to marry him. Is that the explanation you were looking for?
Oh man, now we're just going from friendly mocking to cyberbullying, Ryan.
Never been friendly on my part. I don't know about you guys, but I can never claim any friendliness. I have been hoping to cause him mental anguish and pain for the past 7 or 8 years that we've been ragging on Kagayaki, and I'm glad that it's been working. He's been faltering recently. He's been his average rank has been falling lower and lower down the Bansuke. He's in Juryo more often than not now, and obviously that's where he deserves to be. And why a woman would find him marriage material, I just can't wrap my head around.
I can see finding his style, his brand of sumo unsightly, but also going to his mug as well. He has a good looking face. I don't know about this.
I hate to side with Kagayaki here on Flaric's side. He looks fine. He's not. he's a boring sumo wrestler in the ring, but
he's
damn.
still up there. I mean, he's still 1 and 2 division. I mean, Makushita or Juryo, doesn't matter. He's still up there.
It just feels gross, but he's okay, I guess. He deserves happiness, just not sumo wins.
I thought we were all on the same page here, and I'm gonna have to reevaluate my participation in this podcast moving forward if this is the stance that you guys are taking on Kagayaki.
Well, hey, Mac started off the year with a promise to be more of a hater.
And I am more of a hater.
And he has a lot of room to grow to catch up to you, Ryan.
Oh no. That is Darth Sidious level shit. I cannot catch that level of hate.
But think about it, Mac. It would be really funny.
It could be funny.
What about the bit, Mac? What about the bit?
No.
See, what scares me is that maybe this marriage for Kageyaki is like what spurns him onto greatness. This is the motivation that he needs. Like, I've got a wife now. I've got to
Let's not get too far
support.
ahead of ourselves.
I've got to support a family. Like, I need to get a couple of those special prizes under my belt. Get that pay bump. I need to work my way back up to the upper ranks. Take down Hoshoryu, and that would just tear the podcast apart if that were to ever happen. That's like
It would be.
Kageyaki hatred is one of the cornerstones that we built this podcast on. And if you take away one of those pillars, the whole thing might just tumble to the ground.
Was Abi married before or after? That would be another telling sign, because Abi would be the only comparison I could think of where I'm like, okay, because he got into a bunch of trouble, then had to move back in with the boys because he missed the boys, but he's still supporting his wife and family on the outside. So hang on.
Was Abi married before or after what?
He started doing well and just started causing nothing but chaos.
I mean, after. He started doing well after he was married.
Yeah.
That's when he won his U show.
I think Terunofuji says his wife also cooked him delicious foods and like healthy foods when he was recovering from all the way down Makushita.
Telling you guys, this Kageyaki
Sumo
marriage
wives.
is bad news.
Yeah.
Ryan's
All
just,
evidence is pointing to it.
Ryan's just reading the signs going, no, the apocalypse is upon us.
I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. I forgot he won a U show.
Abi
won. Yeah, that's what I was saying. He did so well.
From
November
Maegashira
2022.
9. Will you look at that?
Yeah.
That was in our infamous streak of 3 straight Maegashira U shows with Ichinojo and Tamawashi.
Yep. Straight up, if you had asked me that, I would have been like, I don't think so. I don't think he's won one.
You know what one slips my mind more than the Abi one? Because the Abi
Daisho?
Yeah.
That wasn't it. Hang on. That was another one.
That was another one.
Because the Abi one, the way that it happened with like the Henka of Takayasu,
Yeah.
and that's
Okay.
like that's how Abi became the hated person he is because of the
True.
U show. But honestly, Wakataka Kage, I always forget he won that U show back in 2022.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was the
yeah.
other one I was gonna guess.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Just small Heya news. The Hide no Yama Beya, that is Hide no Yama Oyakata, is the former Koto Shogiku. He recently split off from the Sarogatake Beya and formed his own Heya. So they had the opening ceremony for their new 5-story building in downtown Tokyo.
Cool.
That opening ceremony happened on the 20th. So, quote, because it is in a downtown area, I was worried whether they would accept me. Speaking of the people that live in that downtown area. But the locals have welcomed me warmly. I would like to continue to aim for a stable that is supporting the community and kind of going along with a stable that's kind of working with the community. The first floor training area has a door that can be opened so that the training can be viewed by the elderly that live in an adjoining nursing home.
Aww.
So I thought that was interesting. I think that's a very cool note for them.
I hope that nursing home has an opening in 40 to 50 years.
You're gonna move out to Japan in your older years, Jake, and
just yell training tips to the sumo folks from my yeah.
Ganbate!
Circle, push. Oh, by the way, if you ever go to a US amateur sumo event, those are the 2 coaching tips. Those specific 2 words are what get shouted during matches. Nothing
Circle
else.
and push.
Not at the same
what
time,
else is there?
because sometimes you
Trip.
need to circle. But if you don't need to circle, you need to push. That's how it works.
No, I was
Never
going to say.
never encouraging them. Like you see them off balance, pull.
No. Usually circle
disgraceful.
in that kind of a situation.
Okay.
I want it, since former Koto Shogiku is opening his own Heya, I want an entire generation of Rikishi that just embrace the Gaburi Yori. It's like, no, this is exactly what your Oyakata did. Use it. Embrace it.
So
I wish it just all of them do the bumpity, like the same
The bumpty bump.
signature style.
You got to do the bumpty bump.
Yeah. Is that what you meant, like the Sugoshi? What did you say?
Gaburi Yori.
Gaburi Yori.
Gaburi Yori? Okay, yeah. I am 100% on board for that. That would be fantastic.
I think my daughter knows more about the Gaburi Yori than Fleric does because we have Sumo Kitty, and that is
Ooh,
one of the
good book.
techniques that they use in the match where the guy defeats the Yokozuna and becomes a Yokozuna at the end. But my daughter was obsessed with that book for like 2 months. Like every night we were reading it. So I think she knows more about the bumpity bump, the gaburi yori, than Fleric does here.
Yeah.
But
I
he
will
did-
bring up real quick before we move on from that. Very much not Fleric's style of sumo.
I
Fleric's
believe it.
kind of as far away as you can get from the belly bump.
You kind of need a belly, and Fleric,
Yeah.
Fleric's a very in shape individual. He's a good looking
Very
man.
svelte.
He don't
It's
got that
svelte
belly
man.
to throw around.
I would say he's not in shape though if he doesn't have the belly to do Gaburi Yori. So
True.
I don't know, man. Maybe I'm in better shape than you.
He is
Sumo
in
shape.
ultimate frisbee shape, and he just
Yeah, there
happens
you go.
to do sumo.
He's min-maxing for the wrong sport. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our guy Chris at Iowa Sumo though has some pretty good Gaburi Yori. So it's a style that Fleric is at least familiar with on the defensive side.
So the Hide no Yamabeya, the new building that's opened up, has 5 stories. So it looks like each one of the 5 rickshi in that stable will have an entire story to themselves.
There's 5 of them.
It sounds like they
Wow.
got 2 more recruits, so they're going to have 7 for the Natsu Basho.
A couple of them will have to share the penthouse.
But yeah,
All right, you're
the more
bunking up.
senior rickshi will still have an entire floor to themselves. All right, we don't have any updates within the JSA. No like changing of duties or anything like that I have seen, at least nothing major. No Kabu updates really, just a couple of Oyakata that have changed Heias. I know Tokushoryu, the former Tokushoryu, I don't know his Kabu off the top of my head, but he has switched Heias this past time, and a advisor, retired JSA member that was over 65 but stayed on as like an advisor. They have also switched Bayas between this, but that's the only really activity happening in the JSA.
Tokushoryu is now known as Sendagawa.
Sendagawa. Okay. Scandals. Luckily, none.
Oh,
We
that's nice.
we had some rumors floating around in early April that Miyagino Oyakata was planning to retire, since there had basically it was a tabloid thing, and they
Damn tabloids.
I think like Hakuho was leaving one day and they asked like, "Hey, are you planning to retire?" And he's like, "What?" And they're like, "He didn't say no."
Didn't deny it.
That's basically the gist of the article. The article saying like, since there had been no change to like his stable and it's closed indefinitely, that he's finally ready to retire. Both Miyagino Oyakata and Isagahama Oyakata have gone on record denying that Miyagino had any plans to retire. Miyagino Oyakata has recently traveled with Isagahama Oyakata to Mongolia, as Isagahama Oyakata was honored over in Mongolia. He was given the Order of the North Star Award or honor, not sure exactly what the correct title for that is, by the Mongolian government, the highest honor given to a foreigner by the Mongolian government. And it was awarded to Isagahama Oyakata for his efforts in nurturing Mongolian sumo wrestlers. Under his tutelage, 2 Mongolian rickshi raised to the rank of Yokozuna, those being Haruma Fuji and Teruno Fuji, who also accompanied Isagahama and Miyagino to Mongolia. So Isagahama,
Oh, that's where that picture came from. Okay, I
Yes.
saw the picture floating around of those guys, but yeah, I didn't know that was the reason for it.
Yep. Isagahama said, "It's an honor. I will continue to do my best to contribute to Mongolia through sumo." Left unsaid was, "for the next 4 months until I retire."
Yeah.
He
I was
didn't deny.
yeah. The joke I was gonna go for was like, that's such a sumo thing to say. It's like I will take it one Yokozuna at a time.
Yeah.
I will do my best to contribute.
my
to
brand
sumo.
of my brand of Yokozuna.
my brand of coaching.
And I mean, in that stable, I mean, they've got like Takeru Fuji coming up.
They're
Tommy
doing fine.
Fuji is still young. They got Kusano down there, but I think if Miyagino were to separate from Isagahama, Kusano would go with Miyagino and not stay with Isagahama. But yeah, they're stacked. he's not going to get one in the next 4 months, but maybe if he stays on in like an advisory role, there might be another one coming through the ranks in the next 5 years.
Man, I wonder. I don't know a way to query this on SumoDB or anything, but I would love to know how many individual coaches out there mentored up more than one Yokozuna. Because
that would be interesting.
I'm sure there's a few, because I know like Takanohana and Wakanohana,
Yep.
they were brothers in the same stable. They were Yokozuna at the same time. So like there's one, but like I because the stable masters like inherit each other's name, I don't know how to like look that up in any sort of efficient manner.
Yeah, that'd be difficult.
If anybody knows, I'd love to learn more about it. But
I don't think it'd be too difficult. There's only so many Yokozuna. You can see what stable they're in, and then you can cross-reference which Oyakata was leading at the same time. But yeah,
you do have
not
to
the
do
work
it
that we
manually.
want to do right now.
You'd have to do it manually, but only 70-ish times.
Yes.
Which, I don't know. That's doable for somebody like, I don't know, whatever.
Somebody
I'd be interested to know.
Discord will probably do it for us.
You've read between the lines what I am asking.
Yeah. Discord people, get on it.
Yeah. Get on it.
All right, and that's really all the news we have outside of the Jungyo tour. I wasn't able to find anything else going on. So like I said, nothing too incredibly exciting going on, but that's not necessarily a bad thing in the world of sumo, because usually exciting means something bad has happened and somebody is being forced to retire. But let's talk about what's going on with the Jungyo tour just a little bit. So this tour has 25 different stops over 25 days. Those are days ranging from March 30th to April 27th. So obviously we're getting close to the end of the Jungyo tour before they head back to their heias and focus more intensely on their training for the upcoming basho. Whenever there's a Jungyo tour, people go kyujo for that, just as they do for the bashos. You have to have an excused absence and medical certificate to say, hey, I'm not going out on the tour. Takayasu was kyujo at the start of the Jungyo tour, as he is, I think, basically every single Jungyo tour for the same reason it always is, lower back pain. But he did rejoin the Jungyo tour on the 12th, so he's been back for about a week and a half now on the Jungyo tour.
I'm sorry, real quick. If Takayasu has, like, I would love to get him a pad of stationery that just says excused for back pain, and then but like with a blank for him to fill in the date and a blank for a doctor to sign it, and save everybody a lot of time.
Just get him a stamp.
Who's to say they don't have that at this point?
Boom.
Could be.
Like, I'm sure the people at the JSA who he has to turn that into, they don't even read it anymore. They know exactly what it's going to say. They just throw it on top of the pile.
They scan for the word back and they're like, yep, okay, nothing new.
Yep. Takada Fuji, this was a surprise to me, but he is absent for torn biceps. I guess I didn't realize he had that going on. Takada Fuji likely going down to Juryo. So I don't know if he participated in the full basho, so I don't know if it's something that's going to keep him from participating in the upcoming basho. But that's definitely something to keep an eye on for Takada Fuji here. Nishiki Fuji, he was absent for most of the basho. He continues to be absent during the Jungyo tour due to a spinal injury. Speaking of Kageyaki, a little bit of karma for him deciding to get married. He had appendicitis. So he was out on the 17th and was back one day later on the 18th. They determined no surgery was necessary, but Kageyaki did have a little blip where he had to sit out of the Jungyo tour. And then Kirishima, he pulled a back muscle on the 18th during morning practice. He said, "This is the first time I've had an injury to my back. I can walk, but I can't bend forward. I'd like to work hard to recover while receiving treatment." So he was absent on the 19th, returned on the 20th, and then after the 20th, they had a small break. So he is going to have it evaluated at a hospital. Probably already has had it evaluated during the short break that they had. And prior to this strained back muscle, he was reportedly in pretty good form on the Jungyo tour in the morning practice sessions. a couple days prior to the injury, he had defeated Onosato in 4 consecutive matches. So just another Kirishima just can't stay healthy. It seems like he's kind of him and Asanoyama recently. Just both of those guys cannot string together 2 bashos where they're at full health recently, and it's kind of really disappointing to see. Hopefully this isn't anything too major for Kirishima, and he's able to get out there and get another winning record, as he hopefully will be up at Sekiwake on the next Bansuke.
Yeah, that's poor Sumo. You never want to pull a back muscle. You really want to push a back muscle.
Yes.
Thank you, Flair. That made it all worth it.
And absent from the list of injuries and people that were not participating in the Junya tour was Hoshoryu, or Yokozuna, who has been on the entire Junya tour. He's been participating in practice matches in the morning. I think the last session that I had heard about, he went 15-5 in his 20 matches and was specifically kind of letting his opponent kind of get the upper hand on him so he could practice like fighting back out of that situation. But on the 15th, he did. Matt, go ahead.
So he hasn't had the surgery to remove the free floating cartilage?
Nope. Doesn't sound like it.
Okay.
We don't know how loose it was. Maybe it wasn't surgery necessary loose, but definitely missing a third of the basho loose. Listen, I have an update for you right now. So on the 15th,
give it to me.
Ryan, come on.
I was about to, and then you raised your hand, so I wanted to let you talk.
This guy.
Thank you.
So on the 15th, Hoshoryu visited a hospital to check on the status of his hospital. They check on the status of his elbow. I'm sure he wasn't there to evaluate how the hospital was doing. I think that's
Looks pretty good.
We
guys.
don't know.
I think that's way outside of his knowledge base. And
He is a
outside of his
Yokozuna.
expertise.
That man has responsibility.
On top of the birthdays and bar mitzvahs, they're also doing inspections of hospitals.
Yeah. I love that because like in Sumo, he's at the top of the world, but like you walk into a hospital and there's all these like middle-aged men that are like the administrators or something, and this 25, 26-year-old guy, whatever, comes in and it's like, yeah, I don't know, guys, is this up to code?
He walks in, he's
got an awful lot of people in the waiting room out there.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Might want to think about hiring a few nurses. All right.
Anyway,
So
sorry, goes in.
After Hoshoryu gave his report on the status of the hospital, they in turn gave him a free update on his elbow, and thanks for
That's nice of
him handing his report in. So they said that there was no problem with his elbow, but it's not completely healed, but it's getting better day by day. I won't have any problems by the time of the tournament, which sounds a lot like what he said before the last tournament. So we will see. Also, now I'm starting to question the validity of the hospital's checkup on his elbow. Maybe he saw some things at the hospital that weren't really up to code, but maybe he's like, hey, you say that my elbow's good, I'll say that I didn't see those rats
Here's
in the
this
emergency
report.
room.
Hospital Inspector Hoshoryu is not the character I expected to be invented in this episode.
But now that it has, don't you feel better for it?
Mm-hmm. We should make a list of these imaginary GSB characters, such as Hospital Inspector Hoshoryu.
Yeah,
Well,
so
Chio,
Yokozuna-
Chio.
Yeah, Hospital Inspector Hoshoryu, popping out of the birthday cake Hoshoryu. I think he's performing the bris at this point.
Yeah.
I think he's the one taking
dollar.
the scalpel in that situation.
Yeah, then we got like Kageyaki having an award. There you go. That's a mythical beast in the GSB mythos.
The unicorn.
Yeah.
And then I've got one more item of news. We had discussed the Yumitori Shiki. Can anybody tell me? Anybody remember what is the Yumitori Shiki except for Jake?
Yumitori Shiki?
Yeah, I have the outline open. I just saw it. So
Oh, let's say the
I'm gonna
what?
shut up.
Yumitori
Hey,
Shiki.
tell them the names of the people involved. See if that helps them.
So we're going to be discussing Aqua.
Oh. Go ahead. Continue.
What are the other names? Hana no
Kamito?
Umi and Kamito and Koto Tsubasa.
Interesting.
Any idea what those guys were involved in recently?
I will.
Was it some kind of like old person Yokozuna?
I got one more hint. Since I know you guys are huge sumo fans, I'm sure you watched the Rain City Open, the amateur event that happened in Seattle recently. They actually did this element of sumo ceremony at that amateur event. It was the first time I've ever seen it
Okay.
at an amateur event, and it was very cool to close the tournament with this particular ceremony.
I have a guess now.
All
Is it the bow touring ceremony at the end?
That's it.
Yes, it is.
There you
Yep.
go.
Heck yeah.
Steven from Rain City Sumo actually he was too injured to compete, but he had been practicing the bow twirling ceremony and borrowed an actual bow from the local Japanese community
Goodness.
and closed out the amateur tournament with a fully legit bow twirling ceremony. It was
That's awesome.
awesome.
I
Wow.
love it. Did everyone
So-
go, whoa, when it
Yes,
stopped on the ground?
actually, yes. Everybody like the part
You
of the
knew what to
ceremony
do.
where they do the shiko, everybody was like, "Oh, hey!" It was really cool. There were enough people, enough sumo fans there that we knew what we were supposed to do.
I love it.
So, yes, the Yumitori Shiki, the bow twirling ceremony, typically that is performed at the end of the day by a lower ranked rikishi from the heya of the highest ranked rikishi on the Bansuke. So now that would be Yokozuna Hoshoryu. So we would be looking for somebody from the Tatsunami Beya to fulfill that role. And last basho, two Makushita rikishi, Kamito and Aqua were practicing to perform the Yumitori Shiki for the Haru Basho. Obviously, we never saw Aqua on the dohyo performing that ceremony. Turns out neither of them were ready to perform, and the rikishi that we saw doing this in Haru was Hana no Umi from the Nishono Seki Beya, so from the same heya as Ono Sato, one of the higher-ranked Ozeki in the Basho. So little update on that. Aqua has done the bow twirling ceremony on a couple of legs of the Jungyo tour in April, but it has mostly still been Hana no Umi and a new name to the conversation, Koto Tsubasa from the Sato Gatake stable, the same stable that Koto Zakura is in. So hopefully what we all want to see is Aqua at the end of the day performing the bow twirling ceremony. I think we're all in agreement. That's what we want to see.
100%. It's
Hopefully
Aqua. He's gonna make a mistake at some point.
Yeah. So hopefully he gets enough training in and will be able to perform at a basho soon. That would just be wonderful. I haven't seen any reports on Kamito from the Tatsunami Beya doing any bow twirling ceremony practice during this Jungyo tour leg. So hopefully Tatsunami Beya has just narrowed it down to Aqua, and we just need to get him the reps so that he can do it for an actual basho.
Yeah, I made a joke there. I got to take it back. I would implode on myself cringing watching somebody do the
absolutely.
bow twirling ceremony and messing it up. Aqua is super fun to watch wrestle because he constantly does like meme worthy things that end up with him face planting.
He just
Super
tries
fun.
the same throw over and over and over again. That's all he knows.
And somehow he constantly falls off the dohyo. He just way high, like falls above average what's the WAR? That's WAR. That's like the stat they use in all
Wins
sorts of
above
other.
replacement.
Yeah, he has way more falls above replacement than like the average rikishi.
Far.
Yeah, exactly. So like the meme is that Aqua, like he's clumsy and he'll do something silly, but like yeah, watching somebody mess up the bow twirling ceremony at the end of a day of pro sumo, I would cringe I would sprain something cringing so hard, and yeah, I absolutely do not want that to happen.
Yep. And I remember a rule we discussed. If the bow were to be dropped during the bow twirling ceremony, you have to, I believe, pick it up with your foot. You're not allowed to pick it up off the ground with your hand. I don't remember what the superstition or the tradition is.
I believe it's
behind that.
touching the ground means you lose the sumo match, so you don't touch the ground with your hand. I think.
Yes. We talked a little bit about Chanko in our recap episode, I believe, and the fish that like what you could put in the Chanko based on the superstition of
You can only do
don't want
chicken because it's
four-legged
2 legs.
animals. So yeah, it's similar to that. Don't want chicken. Apparently, fish.
No,
is...
you do want
No,
chicken.
you do
'cause
want
chicken.
chicken.
Oh
walks
yeah,
on
you
2
do want
legs.
chicken. Fish.
You don't
is
want pork or
fine,
beef.
I assume. Need to get some more exotic, and let's get some kangaroo meat in there. Let's get some
There you go.
ostrich meat in there. What else walks on two legs that we could?
Sloth. They walk on no legs because they hang from trees.
They go down to poop though, and I'm pretty sure
That's
they're
true.
on 4 legs and a belly at that point.
Oh God, yeah, the whole body on the ground for sure. Good point. That's a bad example.
What else walks on 2 legs that we could?
A flamingo.
Roadrunners.
Roadrunners.
Yeah, most birds.
Yeah, because all I'm thinking about is like apes
Penguin.
and monkeys, and I don't think we would.
Penguin.
Yeah. Don't eat a penguin. Come on.
How many legs do you need to add to cancel that out? Like, because if you have like an insect would have 6 legs, is that worse, or do we circle around to better? And
No,
if
it's
it's
worse.
possible to circle around to better, like, can we get like millipedes in the mix here?
Oh.
Centipedes, no, but millipedes do go far enough that yes.
Somehow, yes, millipedes.
I am not eating your guys' Chonko.
I was about to say, I am never eating any kind of stew at this guy's house again.
Interestingly enough, though, according to tradition, human, just fine.
But who loses sumo more than a human?
That's true. Every
You're
official
guaranteed
sumo loss has been by
the
a human.
human's
You're
going
right.
to lose.
Yeah. I don't know about official. There might have been some weird stuff going on in like the 1700s, 1800s. They're like, hey, let's bring in this chimpanzee. Let's see if we
No.
can beat him.
Yes,
The
famously
famous
native to
chimpanzees of
Japan.
Yeah.
The chimpanzee.
All right. I think that's the point that we've gone on far enough. I have nothing else on the outline. So,
Pangolins. Pangolins walk on 2 legs.
do they really?
Yes,
yeah, their
actually,
front
they do.
legs, they hunch them up underneath, but their tail weighs so that they don't touch the ground. Yeah.
Think
But that
sand shrew.
tail's a third appendage on the ground. Would that count?
I don't think it touches the ground. I think that they just walk on their feet and they
I
counterbalance.
was wondering that with kangaroos, how the tail would.
That's a good
That's
point.
true, because if your hair counts as touching the ground, I'm sure anything besides the soles of your feet as an animal touching the ground would be bad luck. So kangaroos, they'll hinge back on that tail, so maybe that would count against them. So maybe, yeah, we need to get kangaroos out of there.
I think we're just kind of down to birds and pangolins at this point.
What about like a snake? Because if we allow fish, do we know that we allow fish?
What about mollusks?
I'm out. We're done.
All right.
Should we
Are
call
we
it there?
All right.
Hold on. I've got a Google search in me. I got one Google
we have
search
come
in me.
full circle to mollusks and snakes in Junko.
Okay, no,
Probably just
mollusks.
scallop.
Mollusks is like legit that could be put in Chonko. Like that's an edible thing. Like we can actually get somewhere with this.
Well, you could eat snake too.
Here are some key aspects of introspection.
What?
Self-examination.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Somehow in what we were talking, my phone is like, I did. Hold on, let me turn this off.
Why are we still recording? Let's
I
just
don't
close
know.
out the
I
episode.
idea.
Hold on. This is not important, but I want to say, apparently, when I was talking about like I've got one Google search left in me, my phone heard search in me. I got one Google search in me, and so it gave me the definition of introspection.
Cool.
Thanks for watching Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time, throw your
Hold
salt
on.
high and keep
Hold
moving
on.
forward.
I wanna,
Yeah. Okay. Gastropods, i.e., snails. They refer to it as a foot. You know that they actually walk on.
Jake.
How many foot though?
Jake.
One.
I said the thing.